Tuka Man. That's what we need. Heritage Tuka Man. My show got Trent, Poppy, Mayan. I can't be in no room without smelling Tuka. And he smell it. I'm from just to know like Tuka's still around. Motel P-Fly. And loving memory of Tuka.
They said King Von featuring FBG Duck. I said that's what they want to see, huh? Stop that, man. I'll perform at his funeral.
But you know, how many people did King Von?
What I know, shit, more than 5, 6. That's oh, he people in the serious of events. Kill you this time, then he another motherfucker, and that's a serial killer. He a serial killer. If you think about it, he is a serial killer.
Something was wrong with him. That's not human, man. You're not regular, man. The devil, man. That was the devil, man. Real, man. That nigga was the fucking devil, man.
I was kind of happy. No, seriously, I was, though. It was that, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, he did. But I was happy as hell when I found out Von was dead. Nigga, I cooked for the whole day.
But then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't bring him back. I was relieved for the community, man. Because he was over there torturing them guys, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It is what it is. Some people need to be gone, bro. You know what I'm talking about? In order to get better. He one of them.
Nearly 4 years after his tragic death in a shooting in Atlanta, Davon Daquan Bennett, better known as King Von, remains a hot topic in the rap world. Even in 2024, his music continues to be released. But there's another part of his life that people are now focusing on, the violent legacy he left behind. Unlike many rappers who exaggerate their street affiliations to build up their image, Von was different. He lived what he rapped. Before King Von ever picked up a microphone, he had already established a serious reputation on the streets of Chicago.
If you was hanging with Von, you had to accept everything that came with Von. You had to accept that you was gonna be in shootings, accept that it was gonna be that, and you had to be with it, you feel me, with Von.
Like they say we give Von more credit than what he deserved and all that. Hey, look, dude was like it, and he was telling people over the internet while he was doing this, I'm a killer, you know what I'm saying?
He wasn't just talking about the gang life for clout. Many of his lyrics came from real experiences. Based on what he's said in interviews and through his music, it's believed that Von was involved in as many as 7 M-ders as a member of the Black Disciples gang. What's even more unsettling to many is that even after he made it big as a rapper, it seemed like Von didn't leave the street life behind. Rumor has it that he used his money and influence to handle old grudges, allegedly orchestrating hits on enemies back in Chicago even after gaining fame. What made Von especially notorious wasn't just the violence, but the way he talked about it. His social media posts and songs were full of references to M-ders, and some people felt like he didn't off out of necessity or self-defense. He seemed to enjoy it.
There's also 3 other too that it looked like he would have been a part of.
That's what I'm saying, man. Shorty was the best. Something was wrong with him. That's not human, man. You're not regular, man. Devil, man. That devil, man. Real, man. That nigga was the fucking devil, man.
He boasted about his alleged role in several K-ings, which earned him a dark and menacing reputation. Some of his enemies even went as far as calling him a serial killer.
And I got on live and say, Von, you ain't like that. All right, wait till I catch you. Wait till I get up. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he dead serious. He mean it, bro. So, good thing, man, that they gone, bro. Like, they was down here just taking people, bro, for no reason, bro. And then people be like, oh, that don't count. He took a lane. Like, what the fuck? This lane got family, bro.
People began to notice that anyone who crossed paths with King Von often ended up dead. This begs the question, who were the people who made the mistake of messing with Von? Let's dive into some of these stories. One of the first names that comes up is Rodney Stewart, aka Boss Trell. He was a member of the Gangster Disciples, specifically the STL EBT set. On November 8th, 2012, in the early hours of the morning, Trell was found dead in an alley near the 2600 block of West 83rd Street in Chicago. He had been shot in the back of the head. What's eerie about Trell's death is that it seems he knew his time was running out. According to reports, Trell had purchased a bus ticket that would have taken him to Iowa on November 10th, where he planned to live with friends, and possibly had a job lined up. He knew someone was after him and was trying to escape Chicago. Sadly, he didn't make it, dying at just 17 years old. It's widely believed that King Von, along with 2 of his close friends, T-Roy and J Money, were involved in the hit on Boss Trell.
Really like telling y'all what he was doing and like how he go like he'd change his shoes, he catch it before he even hit school. Like, nigga don't like, he called Trail, some goofy ass.
The tension between the gangster disciples and the black disciples was at an all-time high back then, so the accusation doesn't seem far-fetched to those familiar with the situation. Before Trell's death, he had reportedly told his grandmother, Sheila Green, that he had enemies, but she didn't fully understand what he meant at the time. Unfortunately, it became clear that someone indeed wanted Trell gone for good. Another incident tied to King Von's violent reputation occurred in late March 2019. 27-year-old Tyreek Levette was shot and offed in southwest Atlanta, outside the Hidden Village apartment complex. Happened around 10 p.m. after a house party turned violent. According to witnesses, 5 or more men were involved in a fight that initially ended without major incident. But just about an hour later, the situation flared up again. This time, someone pulled out a gun and fired multiple shots, KO'ing Tyreek and injuring 4 others. The injured men were rushed to Grady Hospital for treatment. Speculation quickly spread that King Von, along with other hitters from Chicago, might have been responsible for Tyreek's death. Given that Tyreek was believed to be associated with the Atlanta Bloods, it's possible he was seen as an enemy of the gangster disciples, which Von was closely tied to. The fact that King Von was in Atlanta at the time only added fuel to these rumors. Next up in the story is Richard Modell, who was shot and offed at just 17 years old. On the night he died, Modell and his cousin were reportedly out in the West Woodlawn area of Chicago's South Side, supposedly on their way to meet a girl. It was around 9:30 p.m. when someone approached them and opened fire. Police suspected that the teens were targeted because of their gang affiliations. And soon after the shooting, rumors began to swirl about who was responsible. Many believe King Von, along with his crew members J Money and T Roy, were out looking for their rivals when they ran into Modell. According to the rumors, Von saw an opportunity and jumped out of the car, pulling out his gun and firing in Modell's direction, ultimately KO'ing him. This was just another episode in Chicago's ongoing gang wars, and Von's name started getting thrown around in connection with more and more violent incidents. Fast forward to another incident, this time during a party on the 5700 block of South LaSalle Street. Things were going smoothly, with partygoers having a good time, and 2 of the attendees were none other than King Von and Michael Wade. That is, until Malcolm Stuckey and some of his crew, who were known to be affiliated with a rival gang, showed up. Von and Wade decided to leave the party, but they didn't stay gone for long. About an hour later, they came back with guns and started shooting at the crowd. At the time of the shooting, Malcolm Stuckey and a few of his friends were sitting on the porch. As soon as the shots rang out, chaos erupted. One man was hit in the foot, but Stuckey wasn't so lucky. He was struck multiple times, including one fatal shot just below his right ear. He was pronounced dead at the scene. On July 24, 2014, police arrested King Von on multiple charges, including the M-der of Malcolm Stuckey and 2 counts of attempted M-der.
I'm interviewing Mr. Devon Bennett, ID number 2012-112-168.
ID number?
King Von.
What's your ID number?
D-A-Y. All right, I quit. What you running up like
What's your ID number?
2014, 0608, 061.
Von ended up sitting in jail for 3 years awaiting trial, but a key witness refused to testify, leading the state to drop all charges. In 2017, Von was released, and many say he quite literally got away with M-der.
What's up? Put out these last pins. Big Von out.
Another name tied to King Von's alleged violent streak is P5, a known gang affiliate from the Giro City set in Chicago. P5 met his tragic end on October 30th, 2012, after being spotted by several O-Block members while walking through the city. He was seen by T Roy, J Money, and King Von, much like how Richard Modell had been. And just like in the Modell situation, Von allegedly opened fire. This time, though, he wasn't alone. T Roy and J Money were firing shots as well. P5 was hit multiple times, and the injuries proved fatal, ending his life. This incident happened just 2 weeks after Richard Modell's death, making P5 Von's second alleged M-der in the span of a month. Then there's the story of Gakirah Barnes. Better known as K.I. Barnes wasn't just any gang member. She was one of the most feared and notorious female members in Chicago's gang scene. In the streets and on social media, she was known as a female assassin, even referring to herself as Hitta after her close friend Tuka was offed. Barnes stepped into the violent life of revenge and was even credited with the K-ing of Odie Perry, a black disciple whose death led to the naming of the infamous O Block. After Odie's M-der, K.I. became a constant problem for rival gangs. She was said to be involved in over a dozen M-ders, according to the gangster disciples, and her reputation only made her a bigger target. In one instance, she was jumped by rival gang members, but the very next day she shot up their block in retaliation. Barnes's violent activities put her in the crosshairs, and it wasn't long before she became a marked woman. On April 11, 2014, Barnes was walking along the 6,400 block of South Eberhart Avenue when she was ambushed. She was shot 9 times with bullets hitting her chest, neck, and jaw. A witness tried to stop the bleeding until first responders arrived, but it was too late. Barnes was declared dead at the scene. For a long time, many speculated that King Von was behind her M-der. Although he once appeared in a documentary where he claimed he wanted to get with her and thought she was cool, many believed he was just setting her up. It made sense, given that she was responsible for the deaths of several Black Disciples members, including Odie Perry. Von even name-dropped K.I. in his songs like War With Us and GTA, making it clear that he wasn't shy about calling out his enemies.
Put a pretty in the morgue, huh? Call that drop dead gorgeous, damn. He met a diss and now he a ghost, and it happened fast. We need to toast. Von dog like K9, and he keep strapped like.
In July 2021, the Chicago Police Department officially named King Von as the K. Aaron Gakirah Barnes' case. After an investigation, they concluded that Von was responsible for her. But at the time, they didn't feel they had enough solid evidence to charge him. So, like in the case of Malcolm Stuckey, King Von managed to avoid facing consequences for K.I.'s death. And then there's FBG Duck. King Von and FBG Duck had one of the most infamous beefs in Chicago's drill scene, and it seemed like Von had been plotting on Duck for years. Back in November 2018, while on Instagram Live from what appeared to be Lil Durk's home in Atlanta, Von openly expressed that he wanted FBG Duck dead. In a bizarre moment, he even joked about performing at Duck's funeral.
They said King Von featuring FBG Duck. I said that's what they want to see, huh? Stop that, man. I'll perform at his funeral.
Little did people know at the time, Von was allegedly serious about taking out Duck, reportedly putting up a $100,000 bounty on his head. He would later rap in the song Me and Duty Low that he handed out $100,000, suggesting his enemies were bound to be taken down.
Honey, get that go whooping, now that tough shit get him left and puff. It ain't nothing, I gave out 100, boy, I
In July 2020, King Von also flexed the new O-Block chains he had bought for his friends from the famous jeweler Icebox. Now in hindsight, these flashy chains may have been more than just gifts. They could have been rewards or incentives for the shooters who were catching bodies for him. And soon the violence spilled onto the streets of Chicago in a very real way. On August 4th, 2020, Duck was out shopping in the Gold Coast, Chicago's upscale tourist-filled shopping district, similar to Rodeo Drive in LA. After receiving a tip about Duck's location, 6 shooters from O-Block were sent to track him down, and Duck was tragically gunned down that afternoon.
He was a new millennium rapper, FBG Duck.
It would appear that only 7 minutes after the of FBG Duck, King Von would tweet a goat emoji, seemingly congratulating himself for pulling off a hit that he had wanted to do for more than 10 years.
After FBG Duck's death, Von and his team seemed to feel invincible. Von was almost brazen about the K-ings he was allegedly behind, dropping hints on social media and in his music. He became known for trolling his rivals, seemingly unconcerned that the world was beginning to catch on to the violent acts he and his crew were rumored to be involved in. In August, Von even went live on Instagram with DQ from O-Block, boasting that there was no more FBG.
ain't no more FBG. Ain't that right, Big DQ? Ain't that right?
You already know that, Kodak.
Now, one of the biggest reasons King Von was allegedly able to commit so many M-ders and strike fear into the hearts of his enemies was the people he surrounded himself with. There's an old saying that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And in Von's case, he hung around some of the most dangerous individuals in Chicago. Some of these associates are well known in the hip-hop world, while others only gained fame after their deaths. Among Von's closest affiliates were Lil Durk and T. Roy. Both feared names in the streets. Of all Von's associates, T-Roy, whose real name was James Johnson, was perhaps the most dangerous. Standing at just 5'1", T-Roy was small in stature, but that didn't stop him from becoming one of the most feared shooters for the Black Disciples, specifically in O-Block. While he wasn't widely known outside the streets while he was alive, stories about him spread like wildfire after his death, with those who knew him speaking fondly of his ruthless reputation in interviews and songs. Before his death, T-Roy had reportedly been involved in multiple making him a serious threat in Chicago's gang wars. Rumors swirled that T-Roy was so deadly, he was even Chief Keef's personal shooter. Chief Keef himself seemed to fuel this speculation by mentioning T-Roy in several of his songs. In the track No Reason, Chief Keef raps, "I'm cooling in the trap, getting high for no reason. T-Roy grab my strap, he gon' blast for no reason." In another song, Savage, Keef adds, "T-Roy, he got the semi, he'll send you to heaven." And in the song Self, he further alludes to T-Roy's reputation. Don't care if you with them NS or if you by yourself, T-Roy got a gun that's bigger than him. After his death, many of T-Roy's former associates praised him as a fearless savage in the streets. Boss Top, another O-Block member, spoke highly of him, describing T-Roy as a relentless and fearless shooter who wasn't afraid to handle business.
Roy just different, you know what I'm saying? He was a real enforcer. Shorty is a savage on all.
T. Capone added that T-Roy was all about gang life. His days were spent eating, sleeping, and rolling up on his enemies. According to Capone, T-Roy's rivals were terrified of him, and for good reason.
One of those, like, he one of them type of, he just wake up, eat, sleep, shit. Destroy, you ain't gotta be scared of him if you one of the guys, you know what I'm saying? But if you on that other side, you should be terrified of him. Like terrified of him,
So how did someone as small as T-Roy become one of the most feared gangsters in Chicago? There are a few theories. According to T. Capone, T-Roy's journey into becoming a cold-blooded shooter started because he was tired of being picked on. Being short, even at school, he often found himself the target of bullies.
Probably a little nigga syndrome, you growing up and shit, everybody thinking you 10 years old, you probably got to a point where you was tired of him thinking because he little as chicken.
Fed up with the treatment he got.
Tired of the constant disrespect, T-Roy decided to defend himself in the only way he knew would keep the bullies at bay. He got himself a not just any either. T-Roy made sure he had the biggest and best in the neighborhood, sending a clear message to everyone that he wasn't to be messed with. However, according to another one of T-Roy's childhood friends, former O-Block member Jay Hood, there was more to it. Jay Hood believes the real turning point for T-Roy came after witnessing the death of his friend and childhood hero, O.D. Perry. T-Roy was there that night holding O.D. Perry in his arms as he lay dying. According to Jay Hood, O.D.'s last words to T-Roy were, "They got me, bro."
With him, his last little moments to T-Roy, and then T-Roy said that, like, damn, they got me, bro. Like, that was his last word.
Perry's death shook the entire neighborhood of Parkway Gardens. He was so loved that after his death, the Wick City gang renamed itself O-Block in his honor. His funeral was packed with people from all over the city coming to pay their respects. No one had ever expected such a popular and feared figure to be taken down by their enemies. O.D.'s death hit T-Roy particularly hard. First, he was horrified to see the neighborhood's hero riddled with bullets, struggling to hold on to life. Then came the crushing sadness when he realized O.D. was gone for good. But eventually, something snapped in T-Roy. Being there for O.D.'s final moments, hearing his last words, and realizing that his hero had been gunned down in cold blood ignited something in him. Whatever it was, it changed T-Roy forever, turning him into one of the most dangerous and feared K'ers in Chicago. Unfortunately, just as T-Roy rose to prominence, his time would come to a tragic end. While King Von was in jail, T-Roy was gunned down in Chicago. In interviews after the fact, Von admitted that he cried when he heard the news.
I broke down, I ain't cried so long. But every day, this my I'm in jail, I'm fighting. I call it every day. It's my right-hand man. I'm telling him, like, all right, now since he go, we can tell him, he getting that.
But not long after, Von would meet a similar fate, losing his life as well. Despite his rising fame, Von's story ended just as violently as it began. Barely a week after releasing his debut album, Welcome to O-Block, King Von's life came to an abrupt end. In the days leading up to his death, Von seemed to be reflecting on his journey, posting on Instagram about how far he'd come and reminding himself to enjoy the good times because he knew hard times could be just around the corner.
You see what I'm saying? Looking for him. I'm here with day one, this and we in this winning, man.
We living on King Day. When we ain't dead and we ain't in jail and we ain't broke and we ain't, you know.
Sadly, he was right. Just after midnight on November 5th, 2020, Vaughn tweeted his location for the evening, sharing that he was performing at Atlanta's Club Opium. While at the club, Vaughn retweeted a Youngin Ace lyric with the caption hinting that he and his crew were going to catch somebody, treating them as food. At the same time, Quando Rondo and his crew were also in town, fresh off shooting a music video. After finishing his show at Opium, instead of heading back to his Airbnb, Vaughn took a detour, going to the location where Quando Rondo was hanging out.
6th, King Von would find himself outside the Monaco hookah lounge in Atlanta. Perhaps he knew Quando Rondo would be there, or perhaps it was just a coincidence.
Started as a confrontation quickly turned violent, with a fight breaking out between the two crews. In the chaos, King Von was shot 4 times. Security footage of the incident spread quickly online, showing the moments that led to the shooting. Vaughn was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, undergoing emergency surgery, but tragically, he didn't make it. The world woke up to the shocking news of his death, with media outlets everywhere reporting on the sudden loss.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco hookah lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
By the time of his death, he had built a reputation as one of O Block's most feared members, allegedly involved in at least 11 M-ders.